Absolutely. I mean, you know, we're already, like I said, we're discussing that fight with Louis. You know, I think Callum's got great options ahead. He's going to be mandatory to Dimitri Bivol. You've got the Benavidez fight. You know, it's really interesting. And I think David Benavidez against Callum Smith's a hell of a fight.
Man, David Benavidez versus Callum Smith, absolutely that's a great fight. Until about the 9th or 10th round when it starts to look like this.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up. Like that, like that.
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. If I tell you I'm no good, you know I'm lying.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? It's your boy, Dr. Boxing Talk. Back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I know what time it is. The doctor's in the house, man. So check this out. Man, according to Eddie Hearn, we could be potentially getting David Benavidez versus a WBO #1 ranked contender in Callum Smith, you know, and that'd be a dope first title defense for David Benavidez, man. And I know it's a less intriguing, less exciting consolation prize as opposed to what he wanted, right? Because of course David Benavidez wanted Bivol, but I think that this is a good fight still, you know what I'm saying? Callum Smith is a very good fighter, very capable fighter, you know. He did lose to Beterbiev, he got stopped, and he lost to Canelo Alvarez, but there's no shame in that, right? That's actually, those aren't bad losses, and you know, he actually looked very good against Joshua Buatsi in his last time out, and I actually picked Callum Smith to beat Joshua Buatsi in that fight, you know, we got that one correct. So I definitely think Callum Smith is a good fight. Now, will it definitively happen? I'm not sure about that, because those of you that know, you know, after the trilogy between Beterbiev and Bivol, that winner, you know, he may or may not get David Benavidez next. I know David Benavidez wants that fight, but you know, there's some potential roadblocks there. And one of the roadblocks being another contender, #1 contender in the IBF named Michael Eifert.
What?
Now I know when I say the name Michael Eifert, the majority of you channel your inner Conor McGregor like,
who the fuck is that guy? Who the fuck is that? No damn well who I am. Who the fuck is that?
Well, Michael Eifert, you know, he's been the mandatory for the IBF belt. And if you remember correctly, the second fight between Beterbiev and Bivol, the rematch after Beterbiev won the first time, it was in jeopardy of taking place as an undisputed rematch because Michael Eifert's mandatory was called, but luckily so, or thankfully so, he took some step aside money in order to have the Bivol Beterbiev rematch be for undisputed again. But you know, the third fight is not going to be for undisputed because the WBC, they decided to strip Bivol of that fight, of that belt, excuse me, and elevate David Benavidez, who is now the full champ for the WBC.
Come on now, dog. Come on, man.
So if David Benavidez fights Callum Smith, I know, like I said, it's a little less intriguing. It's a little underwhelming compared to what people wanted, right? Bivol versus Benavidez, or maybe even Beterbiev versus Benavidez, or even Canelo versus Benavidez. But Callum Smith is definitely a formidable opponent. And let's just think about this too, man. If David Benavidez does fight Callum Smith, he's been on one hell of a run, man. If you think about his last 5 fights, he fought David Lemieux, and I know David Lemieux was on a decline, right? And that was actually David Lemieux's last fight, but he's a former champion, and David Benavidez fought and beat him, right? Then after that, I think David Benavidez, who did David Benavidez fight after David Lemieux? Was it Caleb Plant? And that was a good fight. You know how that goes, right? And then after Caleb Plant, he fought Demetrius Boo Andrade, who was slightly undersized, but that's still a good fight, right? Demetrius Andrade was a very avoided fighter. And then after that, he followed it up with his debut at 175, going against Alexander Vazdik, a former champion who not only beat Adonis Superman Stevenson, shout out to Adonis Superman Stevenson, who still suffered from chronic brain injury as a result of that fight. He also, Alexander Vazdik, had a very good fight against Beterbiev, and he was even winning at the time of stoppage, right? He got stopped in the 10th round, and on 2 of the 3 judges' scorecards, they had Vazdik winning. So that was a good win for your debut against a former champion. And then he followed that up against the young lion in David Morrell, who was calling him out for a long time from 168 and followed up to 175. And then David Benavidez, you know, he got rid of him, right, in a great fight, you know. So I think that if David Benavidez fights Callum Smith, man, that's a good fight. But let's think about the other options as well, you know, because 175 not really too deep. It's really top heavy, but it's even thin at the top too, because outside of Bivol and Beterbiev, who to me are the clear best guys, and then Benavidez being the third, you got guys like Anthony Yard, but he's kind of tied up right now because he has a fight coming up at the end of this month with Lyndon Arthur for their trilogy, right? With Lyndon Arthur winning the first one, Anthony Yard stopping Lyndon Arthur. Now they're having a trilogy, right? But Anthony Yard, assuming he wins, that's a potential good fight for David Benavidez. Hell, that's a good fight for Callum Smith too, you know, because Callum Smith beat Joshua Buatsi, who a lot of people are anticipating to fight Anthony Yarde. You know, Anthony Yarde and Joshua Buatsi, that's been derailed now because Callum Smith beat him. So Callum Smith can even fight Anthony Yarde. Really, Callum Smith is in a good position.
Yeah. Oh, that look good. Hold on.
No, did he?
You know, because he could get the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol, you know, or he could fight David Benavidez for his WBC belt, or he could wait till Anthony Yarde finishes with Lyndon Arthur and potentially fight him. So there's a little bit of options for Callum Smith. And if you're David Benavidez, you know, you could take on Callum Smith, which would be a good fight as well. I think that'll hold people over, and then see if you could potentially get the winner of Beterbiev and Bivol, or hell, even the loser, because I'd be cool with David Benavidez fighting Beterbiev or Bivol regardless of who wins, and same with Callum Smith, you know. And then or you know, let's say worst comes to worst, that the winner of the trilogy has to fight Michael Eifert. Then David Benavidez, he has Callum Smith there, or he could be patient and wait for Anthony Yarde or somebody else. You know, that might be a little less intriguing, but it's good. So shout out to Eddie Hearn. We were already talking about this fight on my channel before, and he just confirmed that they're actually in talks. It's not coming into fruition as of yet. It's not definitive as of yet, but the fact that they're exploring these ideas and are in preliminary talks, that's always a good thing, man. I really think that David Benavidez versus Callum Smith would be a good fight. Callum Smith is nobody to sleep on, but I do see David Benavidez stylistically overwhelming him towards the later rounds. I say around the 8th, 9th, or 10th round. I can see Benavidez start to wear him down and eventually get the stoppage. You know, that's just my personal opinion. But up until that point, I think it's gonna be a very interesting fight. And you never know, man. Callum Smith could come up with the upset, you know. But yeah, y'all let me know what y'all think about that. Don't forget to smack that like button. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. The doctor's out. Peace.
From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.